Good evening, wanderers. The signal hums low tonight, trembling across the desert mesas where the wind carries more than sand. It drifts into canyons where the stones themselves seem to remember, and into homes where certain words are never spoken aloud. The broadcast resists me as if something does not want to be heard, but it has locked itself here, into the shadows of the Navajo lands, into the stories that are rarely told. This is the legend of the Skinwalker. Listen carefully, for to speak of them is to invite their attention, and the signal is already restless.
The Skinwalker, aloud. With it, he goes on all fours. To many outside the Dene, it is whispered like a ghost story. But among the Navajo, it is more than that. It is taboo. Even now, elders lower their voices when the subject is raised. It is said that speaking their name too freely is an invitation, a call into the dark that may be answered. The Skinwalker is described as a witch who has turned away from healing and embraced corruption. They gain their strength through breaking sacred taboos, often the most horrific imaginable, harming kin, desecrating rituals, destroying harmony with deliberate intent. Their reward is transformation, the power to take the shape of animals, or sometimes even to steal the likeness of a person they know. Travelers describe lone coyotes that stare too long at the roadside, their eyes reflecting not amber, but something closer to fire. In some cases, the tracks they leave in the sand shift mid-stride, paw prints giving way to bare feet, then back again. Those who followed such prints too far into the desert sometimes never returned. Others speak of owls that perch silently on roofs, watching with an intelligence that feels uncanny. Owls are already creatures of omen in Dene culture, but when their eyes gleam too bright, or when they refuse to leave even when stones are thrown, the fear deepens. These are not owls at all, but borrowed skins. Imagine sitting in your hogan, the night wind scraping along the walls. Dogs outside grow restless, pacing in circles, whining at the door. Then silence. And in that silence, the sense that something stands just beyond the glow of the fire, waiting. The Skinwalker terrifies not because it is monstrous, but because it wears the ordinary like a mask, a neighbor by day, a predator by night. In Dene belief, harmony, hojo, is the foundation of life. Everything has balance: people, animals, the land, and the spiritual world. Witchcraft is the breaking of that balance, the turning of sacred power inward to serve destruction. Winaldlushi, a Skinwalker, is thought to begin as a medicine person, but instead of using prayers, chants, and herbs to heal, they twist those same powers to harm. They seek control, envy, revenge. The greater the betrayal of balance, the greater the power they claim. Some stories speak of Skinwalkers gathering in remote canyons at night. They are said to wear the hides of coyotes, wolves, or bears, crouching low until their joints pop, their bones twisting into forms neither fully human nor fully animal. Fires are lit, chants are reversed, sacred words are broken. In those moments, they cast away what little humanity they had left. In the 19th century, Navajo families traveling with wagons told of being stalked. Shapes followed at the edges of lamplight, sometimes running on 4 legs, sometimes 2. The figures moved with unnatural speed, able to cross vast distances in moments. Some claimed their livestock was found the next morning, mutilated, but not eaten, as if the act itself was the point, not survival. The danger of the Skinwalker is not only physical. It is said they can cast curses, powders blown into faces, ashes slipped into food, whispers carried on the wind. Victims might waste away with illness, fall into endless misfortune, or be plagued by dreams too vivid to ignore. Most terrifying of all, skinwalkers are not strangers. They are kin, healers, people once trusted. Their horror lies in betrayal, in the truth that the deepest harm comes from those closest to us. But fear was never the only response. Communities passed down ways to guard against the skinwalker. Fires were kept burning bright through the night, the light pushing back the dark where predators lingered. Dogs were tied at the edges of homesteads, not only as guardians, but as warnings, their senses keen enough to know what human eyes could not. Medicine men were called to restore balance. They performed chants, created sand paintings, and used sacred herbs to cleanse curses. The enemy way and other ceremonies could repel the evil of witchcraft, though only the most skilled healers dared to confront such power directly. Sacred materials were carried for protection: corn pollen, turquoise, or ash. Some say that bullets dipped in white ash could wound or kill a skinwalker, their corruption unable to resist its purity. There are tales of skinwalkers being struck while in animal form, only for a villager to appear the next day with the same wound. These moments were said to unmask them, proof that behind the coyote, owl, or wolf was someone known, someone once trusted. And yet, the strongest defense was silence. To name a skinwalker aloud was to risk calling it closer. Words themselves became protection, withheld like a locked door against the night. But when silence is the shield, what does that say about the wound beneath it? Perhaps the skinwalker legend is not only about monsters in the dark, but about what happens when trust breaks inside a community. What if the skinwalker is not simply a beast, but a vessel for fear itself? Not every tale was meant to terrify. Some were warnings about envy, greed, and betrayal within the community. Harmony, hozo, is fragile. To lose it is to lose the balance that sustains life. In this way, the skinwalker is not only a predator of flesh, but a story of imbalance made flesh, a symbol of what happens when compassion dies and the self becomes more important than the whole. Anthropologists suggest that skinwalker accusations were sometimes ways to explain illness, bad harvests, or sudden tragedy. When a child wasted away without cause, when crops withered, when storms destroyed fields, people whispered of witchcraft. Naming a skinwalker gave shape to suffering that might otherwise feel unbearable. But accusations also carried danger. To call someone a skinwalker was to condemn them, perhaps unjustly, to suspicion and fear. In this way, the legend itself could fracture trust as surely as betrayal. The tragedy of the skinwalker, then, may not be its monstrous form, but the reminder that sometimes the greatest harm comes not from beyond the desert, but from within the circle of firelight. Even now, stories travel. Drivers along remote highways speak of figures keeping pace with their cars, sometimes on all fours, sometimes running upright. They vanish when headlights flare, leaving behind only tracks in the dust. Hunters tell of laughter that shifts mid-echo into the howl of a wolf. Ranchers wake to livestock torn apart, no tracks in the dirt, the cuts too precise to be natural. In Utah, the legend gave rise to the infamous Skinwalker Ranch, where a family reported glowing-eyed beasts that shrugged off bullets, strange lights in the sky, and constant dread. Skeptics doubt, but believers say the land still carries a curse. Yet within Diné communities, silence remains. Many will not speak of skinwalkers at all, holding that words themselves invite danger. The legend lives not through open discussion, but through whispered warnings, passed carefully between generations. And so the skinwalker endures, not as a relic of the past, but as a living presence in the desert night. When the wind cuts across the mesas and dogs howl without reason, some say it is still out there, listening. The Skinwalker is terrifying, not simply as a monster, but as a reminder of betrayal, of trust broken, of harmony undone, of shadows that walk in human skin. Imagine sitting by your fire, family close, light flickering against the walls. Beyond that circle of light, something waits. It does not rush forward. It does not need to. Its silence is enough. You do not speak its name because you know it might answer. Perhaps this is why the fear endures. Because the line between human and monster is not distant, not mythic. It is close, and it is fragile. The Skinwalker endures, not as a tale of beasts in the desert, but as a whisper of what any of us could become, should the balance of compassion and harmony be abandoned.
The signal falters, resisting the transmission as if something does not wish to be known. Yet you have heard it now. The Skinwalker is not only a tale of monsters, but of broken trust, of shadows where once there was light. Perhaps that is why it endures, because it is easier to fear the inhuman than to face betrayal by the familiar. Be cautious, wanderers. Some names invite what they describe. Some shadows lean closer when noticed, and this signal is already fading. But before it does, I will tell you this: the broadcast does not choose lightly. The legends it clings to are not relics of the past, but echoes of what still walks. And there are places in the desert where radios crackle without cause, where voices cut in on dead frequencies, and where travelers swear the eyes staring back from the roadside are not those of an animal at all. If this story unsettled you, subscribe and follow the frequency. The other broadcasts are alive, fleeting, but waiting for you now. Begin before they vanish into silence.